So you have a horse, he's 2-1. He's going to pay $6.40, right? You're going to bet $40 into the race, but all of it is contingent on this horse winning. You're going to bet exactas, you're going to bet tries, trying to make a score. All right, so you whiff on all of that, and meanwhile, you could have had 40 to win on the horse and got back $128 for your 40. You would have been up $84, right? Or $88. But why would you do that when you could fuck it up? That's what we do. And then show the guy your losing ticket with your bad breath. You just had a salami sandwich and, something that was laced with garlic. And you get right in the guy's face and go, "Oh, look at that. They left out the 2." Like anybody wants to hear about your sorry losing ways, especially in those circumstances, because they're losing too. If you're, happen to know the guy's winning, maybe throws you a couple of bucks and says, here's it for us. Get out of my face. You're whining and you're fetching. Unbelievable. Nothing worse than a guy. Is there anything worse in a gambling situation than a guy showing you his losing ticket at the track?
Oh yeah, that's the worst. And you all do it constantly. Bitch.
Everybody, right?
Oh.
Look at that. I left out the 2. Well, you're an asshole. That's why you left out the 2. You lost. Just admit it. You're a lousy handicapper, a poor money manager, and you really have no business being here in the first place. And guess what? You haven't had a winning year in your life. But here we are. Every day.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Experienced a lot of that over the weekend. Good morning, everybody. Good to be with you. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie. Lubitz, Peel Yourself Off the Map Monday. We were thinking about doing it, Lubie and I. How are you, Mike Lubie? Lubitz, spectacular weekend from many different standpoints, although yesterday was a bit of a washout here in South Florida from a weather standpoint. Didn't really impact my life any. Just the voices in my head that are always saying, "Go to the track. Go to the track. Go to the track." Anybody else out there hearing voices? I don't know what they say to you, but that's what they say to me. Go to the track. Go to the track. Go to the track.
Oh, my God.
Because betting football is a dicey proposition. We certainly know that. How many bullets is Nick Saban going to dodge this year? For God's sake, Nick, lose already. Lose. Is that brilliant coaching that Jimbo Fisher has a chance to win the game? He's got 4th and goal from the half-inch line. And he throws a stupid pass to the corner of the end zone that wasn't even going to get into the end zone, even if the guy caught the ball. What kind of ugliness was that? Did you see the end of the Alabama game, Texas A&M?
I was enamored by my own nose throwing away a game to watch that. I heard that it was close. I didn't realize it was that close.
Close? That's twice now. Twice now.
That pissed me off.
The state of Texas is shriveling in size and population as a result of the fact that Nick Saban has stolen 2 games this year. And both came against Texas powerhouse teams. Texas, of course, I don't know about powerhouse, but I mean, traditionally powerhouse teams. Yeah. Yes. Reputation-wise, Texas A&M, you usually figure, okay, good programs. Probably going to be a winning program. So, I mean, they were right there on the doorstep. I mean, they were knocking, bump, 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 knocking on the door. And they end up with a 4th down. I mean, it was going to be the last play of the game regardless, but boom. It just throws a brick of a pass, and that was it. Although the pollsters took that into account now, Lubie, which is unusual when it comes to St. Nick, is it not? Dropped them all the way to number 3. I'm not sure if that's going to be of any great significance or hold any weight in decision-making at the end of the season. Number 3 is still good enough to get into the college football playoff. They still are unbeaten, and yet vulnerable, my friend, vulnerable. Nick Saban, very vulnerable this year. I don't think Bryce Young played at all in the game. Did he? I believe that their backup started a ball game, so maybe that adds in a little, because sometimes this happens where a backup comes in and relieves. We've seen it, right? Many, many times on both the college and the pro level. Backup quarterback comes into a game that's going south. Starter gets injured, whatever, and comes in and looks sensational, salvages the day. Everybody's all excited and says, wow. We got to go with this guy, and then gets to start the following week and doesn't look so sharp. So good enough to win the ball game, but unfortunately it didn't work out for Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher, wow. He had to be face down in the gutter outside the stadium after that ball game, realizing that he had a chance to beat Nick Saban after Nick had just cremated him verbally during the off season. And Jimbo was firing back, but Jimbo looked a little weak firing back against St. Nick, did he not? I mean, it really
Now,
didn't look all that convincing. And then he had a chance to beat him, knock him from the ranks of undefeated, maybe even knock him out of the college football playoff. And they'll zipperoni, my friends. What happens? The coaches just get a brain freeze when they have a chance to beat Alabama or a team like that?
well, it's just in general. I mean, if you watch FSU at all, Mike Norvell again, instead of just being smart and safe, and I'm not talking about throwing the ball because again, their kicker has made 1 out of the last like 6 kicks. So I don't mind when you're around the 20.
They can't find one guy on campus that can kick a field goal? Are you
I know
kidding me?
that-
How
that's
many
kids
students go there to Florida State? Somebody's
Oh,
got to be able to kick a
40
field.
something thousand. Yeah, 100%. They should have a soccer player. Anyways, so
There's not some kid under a rock in Pensacola that Norvell can grab all of a sudden and go, guess what? You're not only qualified to go to school here. We don't care that you're only 13. You're going to be starting for us at the kicker position from now on.
I don't know. Like if they had a better kicker, then I would have called them really stupid, but they don't. So I don't mind them throwing in the spot that they threw. The problem is there's so many safer throws. Like you can throw it over the back of the end zone where only your guy can get it. You can throw a quick slant. You can throw a screen. To go across your body, across the field, throwing a fade route to a 5'10" guy
Yeah.
is the stupidest of all the throws.
Let's sail one into the stands. Yeah. Well,
So that's
to a guy who's double covered.
I wouldn't have minded sailing to the stands. At least you leave a kick option available. Instead, they throw an interception and on 2nd and 8. Like it just. So that's my thing. Is sometimes these coaches, we've talked about it. You know, they shit the bed. They overthink it. You've said it from the beginning that I met you. I didn't really know that expression very well until I met you, and I live by it now.
Yeah.
Don't get cute. Like
Don't get
sometimes
cute.
It's okay. Just win the game. Just win the game. It's okay. That's all you.
Yeah,
have to-
you start getting creative sometimes, and a lot of this stuff is just basic, fundamental shit. And if you just followed what it was that you were doing all along, you'd be okay. But all of a sudden, you decide you're going to run a Statue of Liberty off a double reverse, and you lose 12 yards, and everybody's going crazy, and the other team's running off the field straight into the locker room, and they're holding their coach up on their shoulders, and you end up a loser. Trying to explain that thing in the post-game press conference by saying, well, the kids tried hard. You know, I can't take anything away from their efforts. It's like, yeah, you can, you schmuck. You ruined their chances.
You're a dumbass.
All right, we'll get into college football a little bit because we're going to start in the pros here today. And, of course, a lot of Major League Baseball. 4 series, the wild card series over the weekend. Fantastic. Started on Friday, 4 games. Saturday, 4 more games. And by the time we got to Sunday, 1 game. And it involved the New York Mets in a winner-take-all proposition, best of 3. All 3 games at Citi Field. They did play DeGrom. They started DeGrom in game number 2 after losing game 1 behind Scherzer on Friday. Got shellacked by the Padres, came back, won the second game, looked impressive. They had Bassett out there for their starter. In game number 3, he was going against Joe, is it Musgrave? Yeah, Musgrave.
Yes.
Joe Musgrave.
Or Musgrove.
I said Musgrove. Is it Grove or Grave?
I think it's actually Musgrove.
The guy with the Vaseline on his ears. he looked like he had Stitch Duran working on his face. This guy.
Musgrove. Musgrove.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Just Joe Musgrove, even though I said Musgrave to begin with. He throws a gem, 7 innings. The Mets had 1 hit overall in the ball game. They got the 1 hit off of Musgrave. But, I mean, the big incident was Buck Showalter having the umpire go out to the mound and actually check the guy. They checked his ears. I mean, they checked his anal cavity. They de-liced him. They're spraying like a can. Like they had like an exterminator out there and de-licing this guy. Make sure he hasn't got any foreign substances on him. What would they have done with Gaylord Perry? That's
Oh, jeez.
can you imagine?
Have fun with him.
This guy would come, off the mound, and he looked like Arturo Gatti coming out of the corner there with, like, grease slopped all over his face. He got inswell there. Perry was great, man, because, there was no doubt that he was cheating. And for years, I mean, they weren't able to catch this guy doing anything. Right? We had all kinds of different stuff. Who was it? Was it Mike Scott? No, he didn't have the sandpaper in his pocket. Who was the guy that had the sandpaper? And he had like a rasp file in his pocket as he was on the mound. But I don't know. Have they really caught anybody cheating since they started checking this stuff where the guy comes off the mound and they check his palms and they check the glove? But did you see this last night where Showalter called the umpires out and said that this guy's got something on the ball. Nobody can hit him. And they actually went out there and started like poking around in his ears. It's terrific.
That's amazing.
Melvin, who
just
manages the Padres, was like, "This guy is the ultimate in integrity. Nobody should ever question what Joe Musgrave is doing, or anybody on our team for that matter, including Fernando Tatis, who's not even with the team because he was one of the few fools who gets caught doing steroids in Major League Baseball today.
Exactly.
Everybody else has the cleansing system. Everybody else is channeling their inner Victor Conti and getting away with it." And he gets caught, suspended for 80 games. But nonetheless, well, we knew the Padres were a legitimate threat to beat the Mets, even though they were playing all three at Citi Field. We did predict at one time, somewhat facetiously, that all the chalk looked good, which 3 out of the 4 favorites went down in the postseason so far. Because, Philadelphia came into St. Louis and won 2 straight. Bryce Harper, who for years we speculated was, we were trying to, consider the question, who's more overrated or what is more overrated, Bryce Harper or the Stone Crab? The money Bryce is making and the price of stone crabs makes that a very, tough question. You're splitting hairs there, are you not?
Yep.
Although Harper has kind of defeated the notion that he's a waste of time for the money because by modern day baseball standards, he is a $30 million a year player, no? I mean, if you're hitting 286 with 30 homers, 30 million. Here you go. So what do they have to give Aaron Judge after this year? How much is San Francisco going to pay to lure Aaron Judge away from the New York Yankees? And how deflating will that be? I mean, that'll be it. You'll see Brian Cashman will be, tearing up pictures of Lisa Meanwell in his office. That flaming, I don't want to say rhymes with fun.
That's not.
She ruined me. She ruined me. I should have never hit on her at that soccer game. Okay, Brian. So you let Aaron Judge walk because you offered him a weak contract before the season, and now you're going to have to pay him triple that. What difference does it make? Anyway, so the baseball playoffs, a lot of compelling action. Could you ask for much more? Huh? What? You had a game go 15 innings. What was that?
Oh, yeah, that Rays game.
Yeah, where
Guardians. That was
Cleveland and the Rays. Yeah, where Cleveland, the Guardians get a home run in the 15th. You know what's interesting? A lot of people are like, "Oh, wow, well, they went back to real baseball." I think for as much as I was appalled by the change to put a guy on second base in extra innings in the regular season, and it's okay now you got the championship on the line. Okay, so you play it out by legitimate old school rules. But think about this. I mean, if you had a lot of those games during the regular season that went 12, 13, 14, 15 innings as a matter of routine, you're really wearing these guys out. So for a rare change in my old school, a baseball purist, George Will type of thinking, I am now very much in favor of the idea that they put the guy on second base to start the 10th inning.
That's funny.
No, because, it's like the tiebreaker in tennis. They used to play the whole thing out, and you had that ridiculous matchup between Isner and Nicholas Mahut
it was like
at Wimbledon that went like 68 games or whatever that was. It's like, they shoot horses, don't they? It's like you're watching a dance marathon from the old days on some, 1930s film. And you're thinking, you have to find a way to finalize this thing and end it. And when they brought the tiebreaker in tennis, that solved that problem. And that's why I'm in favor of uniformity there, though. I don't believe that you should go back to any other system. In other words, if you're going to play the tiebreaker for the first 4 sets at 7 points, why change it to 10 for the final set? Why would the final set be any different than any other set, right? If you win the first set, is that not the same as winning the final set? So the rules should be the same. The parameters and the guidelines should be the same. I'm okay with them changing it in the postseason of Major League Baseball, but I am now all in, totally in favor. As much of a douchebag as it makes you look like when you agree with this, you don't want those games going on forever. You have to find a way to end them more quickly. They're already long enough. The drudgery. So it was interesting, though, all the way around. We'll get into that, too, the baseball. But we need to get to our own beloved Miami Dolphins here in town. And, of course, the entire slate of NFL games, which the NFL is producing amazing results. All right. What do you want first? The excuses?
That's where I go first.
Maybe some legitimacy to these. You would have to say, look, and what looked like a sure thing, didn't it? The 8 and a hook over just a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden, looks like it's coming under very strict consideration that perhaps you should have held back that second $1,000 that you bet on the proposition based on our recommendation in the first place, that the Dolphins were a much better team. Now they were not a bad team, the Miami Dolphins. What happened to their defense, though? They were missing what? Howard didn't play in a ball game, and Jones was out. Now it has been out the entire season. That's compromised them. They're counting on like an undrafted free agent to be their slot cover man. Yeah, and he's covering these monsters that are going out on these pass patterns. Okay, so had Teddy Bridgewater get knocked out, and how ironic is it, Mike Lubitz, that they changed the protocols because everybody thought and suspected that the Miami Dolphins had fudged their way out of the concussion protocols with Tua to bring him back into that ball game when he originally got hurt against the Buffalo Bills. Comes back, plays the second half, starts the following week. Same thing happens to him again. Some guy picks him up, body slams him like he was Bruno Sammartino taking Gorilla Monsoon on at Madison Square Garden. The airplane spin, and boom! No penalty, no flag whatsoever, which is where, it's kind of interesting. Now people are screaming. Who was refereeing that Tampa Bay Bucks Atlanta game yesterday? Giselle? I mean,
It was.
How did they throw a flag on that? Why is it always Tom Brady that's getting the benefit of the doubt in virtually every ruling that comes down? They even change rules to accommodate Tom Brady. It's nuts. But everybody was screaming about that because Atlanta was making a comeback at the time, and they gave Brady the cheap roughing the passer call. And all of a sudden, a game that looked like a runaway for Tampa Bay early they clinched the victory for him, but Atlanta had every right to be screaming on that one, no?
I mean, it wasn't a penalty. For all those, and Brett Tessler was one of them that said the Tua hit was a regular hit. It was not. The dude literally, for no reason, could have just put him down. He picks him up, rolls him over, and body slams him. The Brady was not, it wasn't even vicious. It was just the guy actually lets him down easy because he's Tom Brady, and he hadn't thrown it yet. So there was nothing illegal about that hit. It was just another Brady rule that they.
There you go. Let's toss a flag out there and give Tommy another easy win because you know what? He's going through a tough time, this kid.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Every day. It's not even on the sports section anymore. It's it's in the the entertainment pages. It's on page 6 in the New York Post. It's everywhere. Giselle and Tommy have lawyered up. If you have that much money and a little bit of respect for each other, can't you just divide this money peacefully?
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one's going away broke. Tommy's sitting on a contract for $350 million. Giselle doesn't need a dime of his cash. Probably has more money than Brady.
She does. She's supposed to be worth almost $1 billion.
Yeah. So what's the beef? I mean, just okay. You know what? You get the kids every other week. You come see them whenever you want. You want to pick them up. I'm all for it. I'll never discourage the kids from having a favorable viewpoint of you, Tommy boy. You're a hero in their eyes, and let's just walk away. Here you go. You take this. I'll take that. Do you really need like expensive lawyers to determine? Well, we have the winery. That was Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, right? They're still fighting, right? They're 10 years. How much is that costing them?
I don't know.
I went through a fairly simple divorce, the second time. I did hire a lawyer, and it turned out to be, I don't know that it was a giant mistake, but, this kind of, how people on Mike Mayo's page there on Facebook, Let's Eat South Florida, 90,000 strong. And, of course, we have the Mayo Lunchbox here on South Florida Live. And, people are always fetching about like some minor charge that was incurred on the check. And maybe they have a legitimate beef, right? I mean, nobody likes to be charged more than you think you're supposed to be. You see $19.95 on the menu, you're expecting to pay $19.95, not $24.95. And the server comes over and says, "No, well, we meant to print new menus." Call my man Marty the Party Sacks. He'll deliver them to you that day if you're changing your prices. And if you're raising your prices, incorporate the cost of printing up some new menus with the actual price on there. Mm-hmm. Or do what any self-respecting restaurant, that I would have a hand in would do, and just write right over it like it was your old report card. My dad used to always wonder. He said, those 8s really look like they were 6s originally. Oh, no, Dad. No. I would never fudge a number like that. 65 was passing, thank God. So at least it was in the same color as the 8 would have been.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, no, it was very awkward to try and connect that in certain situations. Just depends how they made the
That
six.
looked like
You
the
put the
weirdest
loop
thing.
there, and it looks like some kind of upside down snowman. But yeah, just right over it.
Oh my God.
But yeah. I mean, people, they don't like being cheesed, and it's unfortunate when a circumstance like that occurs, and you get everybody pissed off. Nobody comes out a winner in that spot. The Dolphins, though, yesterday, wow, I mean, that was ugly, huh? What happened to their defense? Can we excuse it away? Xavier Howard is a superstar, or is up there among the elite corners in the league. And Jones,
Supposed to be.
a lot of people thought he wasn't all that great, wasn't worth the money, but he turned out to be a very useful component of whatever success the Dolphins had on defense. The big question was, did they have linebackers? And I don't know.
Do they?
Do they?
And where's Phillips? Where's Agba? Like the two guys that are supposed to be their sack specialists.
Yeah.
They're not doing it. And look, I mean, the game got out of hand because of turnovers and giving just short field. So I don't blame the defense as much as people are. To me, the offense is the issue, and they are starting to struggle. And
But you had a third string quarterback in there that everybody fell in love with.
And
I'm at the track yesterday. Big Al is telling me the entire time, hey, it's the best quarterback that they have on the roster, Skylar Thompson.
You can't still have an issue with Tua. Like Tua's looked really good. Like
he hates Tua. He thinks Tua is a fragile piece of
really,
just very fragile china.
I mean, these aren't ankle injuries. And he wants to play. Like these are injuries that are serious, and he wants to play. They're making fakakta rules to keep him out of the freaking.
Well, this
game.
new rule is really crazy. I heard one of the commentators yesterday. I was watching a bunch of shows talking about the game, and actually, it's so funny to hear because we did how many of these? I mean, in my lifetime, I used to do Dolphin post-game shows all the time. I'd be on the air for like 4 hours after the game on the radio, and that was when the team really mattered. They had Marino. They were usually in the mix to do something, of a very favorable nature. Shula was the boss man. We had very talented players. They were, immersed in the community. So everybody had an affinity for these guys. I mean, they were rooting for Zach. You were rooting for Jason Taylor. People cared about the team. So it wasn't hard to fill like 4 hours of calls, win, lose, or draw, radio time those days. But I'm listening last night. I happened to turn on. I was driving back from one of my parimutuel facilities nearby, and I'm listening, and it's just the whining is insane. Now, our man O.J. McDuffie, he was angry. He was on the show. I couldn't identify any other person who was kind of hosting the show, and they never said their name. Is that a bad thing?
Never. See, doing this, I've stopped because Shirley's like, look, when you're doing a podcast, you don't have to do that thing where you say your name and you say the guest.
Radio mechanics probably don't apply 100%.
It says who it is. Like in front of you, there's a title, especially once it's up on YouTube.
And you can see the person.
You can see them. It says their name there. Yeah. And I always have, the stuff on the bottom line. So we don't really need to do it. On the radio, I hate when they don't do it. Like, I want to know who the hell you are.
Who are you? Yeah, who's talking? Who's making these bold proclamations?
I hate that.
That we're heading for, I guess it was Joe Biden was hosting the show. We're heading for Armageddon. Here is what he was saying. But while we're on that topic, just to touch on that for a second, I mean, this Putin is out of his mind. Now we know that, but now he's upset that they blew up this bridge. It's like this guy's been bombing this country for 7 months for no reason. Absolutely no reason, no justification, no validation to it. The Ukrainians were 0.0 threat to invade Russia. So what are they fighting about over there? They're fighting about the fact that Putin has a hair up his ass that this land is your land, no longer it's my land now. I mean, it's some variation on a theme. But then the guy, I mean, he's appalled. They blew up this. Oh, my God. Can you believe these guys? They're terrorists.
Nah.
That's incredible, man. I mean, you talk about nerve. Our country seemed to be heading in that direction. I think we're heading back there, Lubie. I'm a little nervous. This Herschel Walker stuff has enhanced his chances of winning the Senate seat in Georgia.
He's a loon. He's openly saying I'm stupid.
Like a lunatic, this guy. I mean, he may have been, they should examine him for concussion protocol. I mean, it seems like somebody, must have gotten into the, gray matter in his skull and really messed it up. if it was solid to begin with. I don't even know. I mean, I didn't know Herschel Walker. He seemed like a fairly humble, sort of shy but articulate guy back in the day. Did he not? It was like, oh shucks, type of thing. Well, you gained 300 yards today, Herschel Walker, and you ran over 6 defenders who are now in the hospital. How did you feel about that? Well, you know what? I was just doing my job. He would give you that kind of thing. What happened to that guy, man?
CTE. I mean, he played a long time, and then he went into boxing and MMA.
MMA, yeah.
I mean,
I don't know that served him well.
No.
But this new cockamamie rule, I don't know. What are they going to do if it's like Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? And he goes down and, gets up, takes a bad step, whatever, and they're going to take him out of the game in front of 800 billion people, Roger Goodell, all with billions of dollars riding on the game. There's going to be a fist fight somewhere between like FanDuel, DraftKings, and executives from the National Football League, no?
Or what they're going to do, because we know what they're going to do. They're not going to take them out of the game. And then they'll explain it away and it'll be okay. Because Bridgewater was fine. There was nothing wrong with Bridgewater. Bridgewater wasn't even hurt. He just got, I don't even think got his bell rung. That didn't look like a bad hit, but he misstep because.
First play of the game, right? Was that the first play of the game?
Possession, because remember the Jets got the ball first.
Oh, okay, all right.
The Dolphins first, and also it wasn't a safety. Like that's the other thing. When you're getting hit and you're throwing it, doesn't it not matter where you throw? Like once you're throwing it and getting hit, the ball's not going to go where you meant to throw it, right?
Yeah.
So how can it be an intentional grounding? Like first of all, he had a tight end and a running back there, and
that was kind of a weird call.
He was getting hit,
no doubt. Yeah. He was getting planted into the ground as he was releasing the ball. It's not going to reach the line of scrimmage.
Why would it hit?
And it's not necessarily grounding if there's anywhere. I mean, you don't even have to be, in close vicinity to the area where you might be able to catch the ball.
Well,
On a lot of these calls.
Blocking, but who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. He was, that doesn't even matter. Like I've never seen them when a guy's getting hit, he throws it. As long as he's throwing it, so it's not a fumble. It doesn't matter where it goes because he's getting hit. So like that whole thing was freaking weird. Then they take him out and it's like, oh, they're not putting him back in. Like even if there's nothing wrong, they found wasn't close to a concussion, was nothing like a concussion. But the stupid spotter guy up top was like, oh, he stepped weird. Like, what does that mean? Like that's so subjective.
Yeah, right. Steps on a rock there at the stadium.
Like, what do you want?
He's out of the game from the first play. That was very strange, very ironic that it happened to Miami Dolphins, who triggered this whole controversy and created, the compelling need to all of a sudden alter the rules and the way that players are observed. I don't think there's anybody that watches football or plays a game or, has been involved in a sport that isn't in favor of trying to do things that will promote player safety. I think that's universally true. Well, would you agree, Lubie? Is there anybody out there that says, yeah, I want to see more concussions. I want to see more guys debilitated later on in life. I want to see guys checking out in their 30s, killing themselves. I really want more of this. I want this to be the Vince McMahon version of the NFL. I want steroids. I want everything. But yeah, I mean, it's weird that this rule took place, or was put in place. And the first team to be impacted by it was the Dolphins, and it happened in kind of a weird. And one of these guys eligible to come back now. Like, what do they have to do?
I don't know. He's in concussion protocol now, even though he's passed every test. This was my question for those that were getting from the highest mountaintop, screaming about safety. It's like, okay, that's fine, but remember, there's doctors for a reason. Oh, and by the way, the Dolphins passed every investigation. They failed. They did all the protocols, as we all said. And it's just, they got to be stricter. Okay, just remember, once you go down this rabbit hole.
The problem is it's, not easily detectable. That's the problem.
Well, and when can they play again? You're already ignoring doctors because doctors are saying they're fine, which is fine. Right. So what's the mark that means they can go in? Like when?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but by the standard of, if you're just looking at humanity, nobody should be playing football. At this level, I mean, it should be flag football. No, I mean, even that would be like risky. So, I mean, it's impossible to legislate all of this out of the game, just like it is in boxing. Boxing made one rule change that I do think made a little bit of a difference. So when they cut fights from 15 to 12 rounds, championship fights, because I have to say, just from my overall view of the sport, for the many years I've been a boxing fan, for as long as I was cognizant of my memory, like going back to being 5-6 years old, I was a boxing fan. Always loved it, fascinated by it. Love the characters, the stories, the whole seedy, underworld that's involved in this thing, and all of the different stuff that goes on. I love all of it. The circus, fantastic. But by its very nature, nobody should ever box. Correct?
No, the sport is to beat the shit out of someone else. That's the
Right.
entire sport.
Right. I mean, you could put all the padding in the gloves, or you could go Panama Lewis. It doesn't matter. I mean, the object of the game is to knock the other person unconscious.
Yes.
That cannot be good long term for any human being to endure. But you're kind of sanctioning this stuff, and if you are, unfortunately, you can't legislate all of the injuries that could happen out of the game. You just can't. It's impossible. So this stuff's going to happen. But it's the vagueness of the diagnosis. I mean, how do you know? People, I guess, I mean, if they're experiencing headaches and things like that, obviously, they're still suffering, the symptoms of a concussion. But how do you know? I mean, if a guy's just like fine, as Tua appeared to be with the Miami Dolphins in both situations. And no, that's not going to be an easy thing. Very debatable. But imagine if that happened. They took Mahomes out of a ball game in like
exactly.
the AFC title game in the first quarter. And all of a sudden, you're saying, what? When did they sign Bubby Brister? And people have money on those games? All right, we're going to get to Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. We'll get his view on a bunch of different things that happened in the NFL yesterday. A lot of interesting results. The London games, I have to say, usually bricks. Both games were pretty interesting. The one last week was okay, and this one was even better because the Giants pulled off the upset, and I love seeing Aaron Rodgers go down.
Oh, my God. Oof, the Packers. That's rough.
Packers, and they didn't they just extend this guy, the GM and LaFleur's contract into perpetuity off of like 2 really good seasons that they had. But whatever they did, they bungled it this year. That's for sure. All right, coming back with more. Hialeah Park, always a great place when it comes to entertainment. Just absolutely fantastic, and you're going to love the accommodations there because whether you're sitting in the champion simulcasting room, wearing a disguise playing poker in the poker room in a game of 1-2, Texas Hold'em, or you're downstairs plunging away on your favorite Vegas-style games, every room is just perfectly designed for your comfort and for your ability to have a good time. And we love that about Hialeah Park. It was always that way. A fabled racetrack. I was watching races from Keeneland. I couldn't help, but have memories pop up of all of the wonderful times I had out there at Hialeah Park. And the good times continue to roll. 9 years into the casino being opened up, and they just did a brilliant job to begin with, and they've sustained that throughout. Fantastic staff there. People really treat you like a champ. Get a player's card. They have a great rewards program. So many things to love about the way they operate Hialeah Park. It's a great entertainment destination, as we said, and you can check the calendar of events. They often have special events, live DJs and music and things like that. So you can dance the night away until 5 a.m. on the weekends, 3 a.m. on the weekdays at beautiful Hialeah Park. It's like the ultimate casino destination here, certainly in South Florida. All right, we're coming back with more. Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars, joins us, and he had a very successful day yesterday. One Dolphin who definitely shined was Raheem Mostert, who has one of the great journeyman stories of all time in sports. I mean, you really have to love where this guy came from and the fortitude it took to persevere and now be, and then overcoming that knee injury and coming back and playing like he did yesterday, razor sharp. That was great. So Brett's going to join us in just a second here as we return in a moment. Now that.
The time.
36. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves. Games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
Welcome back to the show. A Peel Yourself Off the Map Monday here on the Defo Show, South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubitz with you. And we always enjoy welcoming this gentleman to the program. And you would have to say, I guess, it's sort of an extrapolation of the myth of the Sisyphus. Where, I mean, I find these to be the most fascinating sports stories, where a guy tries for a championship a dozen times or whatever and never quite gets there. And then all of a sudden has like a Rudy moment. And, you know, everybody stands up and starts cheering. Jimmy Stewart is kissing June Allison. It's just great. And Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins is one of those stories. And of course, it parallels, in some ways, the meteoric rise to success of our next guest on the program, who joins us every week, talk a little football. The agent to the stars, Brett Tessler, joins us here on the program. Brett, how are you, my friend?
Hey, doing really good, guys. Thanks for asking.
How good did you feel yesterday? I felt good for you. I got a vicarious thrill.
It was great yesterday.
And I mean, you've had a ton of success. Obviously, you know, if nothing ever happened for the remainder of your career, you'd live a very good life and look back on 20 years as an NFL agent and think, wow, it was really great. A heck of a lot of fun to be involved on that level and have the success that I had. But I know this story, and a lot of your players have these kind of threads with you, Brett Tessler. But this one in particular seems to be very special for you. So after overcoming being cut, 6-7 times, not sure the exact number, but, I mean, told many times, hey, you're not good enough to play in the league. Coming back and then being the MVP of the NFC Championship game just a couple of years ago. Loaded with promise for the following season. Injured and now a tough one to overcome. End up drifting around to the Miami Dolphins, although there may have been some teams that obviously had their eyes on your client. But to see him come back and play a razor-sharp ball game like he did yesterday, after everything that's happened to this kid, that was just great. Did you teach him that celebration, by the way, where he was like doing the worm there on the ground? That was a really good one.
That's actually his surfing celebration, and that's something he got pretty well known for in San Francisco.
Oh, that's right.
Growing up near Daytona, a lot of people don't realize this. He was actually a top surfer. And I think he was sponsored. I think he had a chance to try to pursue it professionally. But, obviously football is the direction his life ended up going. And yes, obviously yesterday, just one of the great moments as an agent, because in this business, Steve, there's some real, high highs and there's some real low lows. And certainly when you see a player and a person like Raheem work as hard as he's worked throughout his entire career, just to get to the point where he even had the opportunity in San Francisco to establish himself as one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. And then he had a little bit of bad luck with injuries, and the particular injury he had last year was just sort of a fluke injury but something that could definitely be career jeopardizing if not properly dealt with. And so instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, we decided to get it properly repaired. And it's a very long and arduous rehab. It just takes time. It takes a lot of time. It's like a 9-month rehab where you can't even really walk for over half that time.
Wow.
And so, for him to get to the point where, he was patient, he was diligent, he was smart, and the Dolphins obviously made a very good decision in getting him in here and doing what they had to do, because he and Mike McDaniel obviously have a tremendous history together dating back to San Francisco. And so I'm not surprised to see him do what he did yesterday. It's just a matter of, the ability is still there, and now the health is there. So in my mind, it was just a matter of time. I think some other teams maybe made a mistake, not trusting the medicine and everything, to the point where, again, this is the kind of injury, though, that once it heals, unlike, say, a guy coming back from an Achilles, you wonder, well, is that guy going to be 85% of what he was? Is he going to be 95? Is he going to be 97%? With this type of thing, it's not like that. It's pass fail. So he was going to come back at 100% once it had the time to heal. And again, even though in this league, sometimes fans have short-term memories, and him setting every NFL record in that playoff game against the Packers a couple of years ago, where he was the championship game MVP and essentially carried the 49ers to the Super Bowl. He's still that same guy. The skill is still there. And so, even though he may be 30 years old, which in the case of some running backs, by the time they're 30, they've had, 900, 1,000 carries in their career. In the case of this guy, just a fraction of that. So I think he's got a lot of gas left in his tank. I think he's going to continue doing great things down here. And, it was great to see him back in full force doing what he could do. And, frankly, I feel like he was capable of doing even more in that game. And, the coaches decided to try some different things. And, obviously the game ended up as a loss, but Raheem certainly did his part. And moving forward, I think we can all look forward to seeing more of the same.
Look, and now I don't know if I want to, but at some point, I guess we got to get to the disaster that was the game, especially the last 10 minutes of the game, because there really wasn't a disaster until then, for as shorthanded as the Dolphins were. What's interesting is a lot of the stuff you're saying to me, I find intriguing, because in this day and age, with what medicine is when it comes to sports, we just assume guys will come back and come back themselves. You and Raheem, I guess, believe that, but so you're saying a lot of people around the league didn't? Like, is that a thing still, where certain injuries, I get Achilles, but even outside of Achilles, where like until they see the guy, they don't trust it? Because I was under the impression that outside of a concussion, which we don't know a timetable, every injury has a timetable and the guy will be good as new. Is that actually not the case?
That's a great question, Lubie. And the answer to it is the procedure that he had done. So he chipped a little piece of cartilage off the tip of his knee. So not meniscus. With meniscus, you can remove it. And, as long as you have some, it still gives the knee some shock absorption.
Yeah.
Meniscus is like the spongy substance between the bones, which is sort of a shock absorber. And then you hear about certain players that wind up having meniscus removed, and then later in their career, they have very little to no meniscus. And some guys can still play bone on bone because the cartilage, which is the surface of the bone, still does provide shock absorption, and it allows that joint to move smoothly. Once cartilage starts getting damaged, that's when guys can really start getting an arthritic condition. It can start accelerating the end of someone's career. And so it's a relatively newer procedure that Dr. Cooper in Dallas, who's the Cowboys doctor, has been doing this for about 8 years on NFL players. And there hasn't been one example of it not working.
Okay.
But that being said, this is still a newer technique relatively. When you look at arthroscopic surgery on a knee now, I mean, that's been done for several decades. Yeah. It's something that, maybe 50 years ago, a torn ACL is a career ender. Yep. I mean, if Gale Sayers had his injury today, chances are he'd be back out there at 100% next year. So, with newer things like this, there are a good handful of players in the league. I don't want to mention any names, There's a player that fans down here might be extremely familiar with who've had the exact same procedure and have come back at absolute top level now for many, many years. So, some of the top players in the league have had this, but it's still one of those things that not every team doctor themselves do or know how to do. So according to Dr. Cooper, who, is widely regarded as certainly one of the very, very best knee guys on the planet, this is in all of his years practicing medicine, there's been two clear-cut breakthroughs, like miracle breakthrough procedures, and this is one of them. So
nice.
We're fortunate that, this happened in this generation where something could be properly done to it to get him back to 100% like he is. And we're thankful for Dr. Cooper's great work.
Yeah, I could see, where teams would be skeptical of anybody coming back from any kind of a serious injury that involved a long, rehab. But that was great. You could kind of see that emerging. But great ball game by Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins. And otherwise, as Lubie said, they were in a ball game with about 10 minutes to go. I guess when they attempted that field goal, they were going to take the lead in a ball game.
Under 10 minutes, yes.
And instead left the ball on the 45-yard line, got scored on, and then, helter-skelter broke loose and everything fell apart. But what do you think? I mean, there was such euphoria here 3 weeks ago, and we were getting set, Brett Tessler, to resurrect the old Dolphins crying towel with our good friend Godfrey Lovejoy to come in and just absolutely, put a torch in any spirits that the Miami Dolphin fans might have retained. But I mean, the whole league is kind of 3-2, 2-3. So, and that's not uncommon. 5 weeks in, a couple of teams, Philadelphia, the lone unbeaten team with 5 wins. A couple of other teams look like they've distinguished themselves that are among those at 4-1. But where are the Dolphins at right now? I mean, are they anywhere near where you expected them? Should we not judge that game just throwing out as a stinker because they ended up having to start their third-string rookie quarterback or essentially play him the whole game? What do you make of where they're at right now?
I'd say they're probably not as good as some people thought they were when they beat the Bills and when they beat the Ravens. Two, great, tremendous early season wins against, in my opinion, two of the better teams in the NFL. It's not, in regards to the Bills, the best team. Those are huge wins, and it was very exciting for fans down here. But, as the saying goes, water always speaks its level. And so the truth of the matter is I still feel like the Dolphins team should be able to beat the Jets team when you look at the roster. Now, the Jets aren't the Jets of 4 or 5 years ago. They're definitely improved. Zach Wilson showed last week that he could come through in a big moment and win a game for them. And so, nobody in this league, and as you mentioned, I mean, it's more competitive than ever in terms of if you look at the records. It's not like the old days where maybe at this time of the year there'd be 7-8 teams that are just clearly superior, 7-8 teams that are already completely out of it, and then maybe the other half the teams in the middle. It seems like now 90% of the teams are all, close to 500, a game above or below.
Yep.
And then you've got, a few teams that look to be really, truly dominant and superior. And then you've got a few teams that really look to just be truly awful. So, Dolphins are somewhere in that middle area there, and there's a lot of season left. Things can go either way. It doesn't help when you're playing without certain top players that they didn't have yesterday. But again, there can't be any excuses. I think Skylar Thompson's actually going to be a really good quarterback in this league. What he did in the preseason, now, preseason's preseason, I get it. But what he did in the preseason was so precise and so uncommonly almost perfect that it can't be discounted. The guy obviously knows how to throw a football. He didn't look to me out there like he was completely confused. There's sometimes where you get to a third string quarterback and it looks like you might as well just have anybody there. So to me, he did some good things. The offensive line, they're decimated. It seems like the same old conversation when you talk about the Dolphins for God, how many years I can't
25.
remember, but yeah, offensive,
Mired in mediocrity, Brett. That's
uh,
the phrase that we always use.
With the
Mired
offensive
in
line.
mediocrity.
They've been bitching with the offensive line for 3
Yeah.
decades.
sometimes, at some points, I think mediocrity would be good.
Yeah.
It's been beneath that at times, and so here, here they are, and obviously, they've added a great player like Teron Armstead, who ended up going down with an injury yesterday, and now you're seeing young kids in there at certain positions. So, look, it's tough out there, and I represent a lot of offensive linemen around the league. I understand, there's a reason why the good ones are some of the highest paid players on the field.
Oh, yeah.
And so, while those guys don't get as much attention as a star running back or star quarterback or star defensive end, everything starts and ends with them. And so teams usually only go as far as their offensive line is really able to allow them to go. And so if you got quarterbacks that are getting hammered back there and, you get a quarterback, your starter's gone down with a concussion once, some people might argue twice, and then your backup, goes down with some sort of injury. Some people are saying concussion, who knows, in the first play of the game, and now you're down to your third quarterback. You add that up along with the state of the offensive line, some other good players not playing, and just a lot of other factors, including, hey, you got to give credit to the Jets. They made some big plays. So when you add it all up, a loss is a loss. Doesn't matter whether you lose by 1 point, 30 points, 100 points. They just have to look at it as a loss. They still have a winning record now, and be curious to see how they come out next week and respond.
I think if Thompson went down, sorry, Lubie, I think if Thompson went down, they would have had to put in Jim Jensen or something in that ball game. They were really scraping, the bottom there when it came. Not an easy spot. Go ahead, Lubie. Brett Tessler was here.
I'm going to belabor points, but I just, it's funny you mentioned the name there, and the big issue with signing him was injury. Is injury prone a thing, Test Man? Because people like us say this, that guy's injury prone, that guy's fragile. Defoe's buddy can't get over Tua. He's fragile, even though, it seemed like he was hit decently hard. Teron Armstead has been hurt his entire career. The Dolphins signed him. He's been hurt the entire time he's been here. Like, even when he's played hurt, and then he missed yesterday. So I ask you, as a guy who's been around the league, when we say injury prone and people scoff at that, is it a real thing? Are certain players just injury prone?
I think they can be. Everybody is physically built different. You and I can both take the exact same fall tripping off a sidewalk, and maybe one of us just dusts themselves up and walks away, and maybe the other tears an ACL. So no two human bodies are identical if you want to look at it from a physical/medical standpoint. Other guys play a certain brand of football that opens them up to more injury. If it's somebody who plays extremely physically or aggressively or recklessly, it's certainly possible that things like that can happen. Obviously, the position a guy plays has something to do with it. Usually, offensive linemen don't get as injured as, say, people like running backs or people like safeties or people like linebackers. People who are playing positions where you're seeing full speed collisions, things like that. Obviously, quarterbacks can be susceptible to different types of injuries because in some cases they're basically back there in the pocket, helpless and prone. And in some situations, if there's a breakdown blocking, guys just get a complete free shot at them. So, things can happen back there. We saw it with Tua. But just, overall in general, in the case of a Teron Armstead, just because that's an example you made, there's a reason why the Dolphins were able to get that guy.
Yep.
Because, again, he, when healthy, is one of the more talented linemen in the league. Yep. One of the better tackles of this generation. And so guys like that typically aren't just sitting out there where a team can just go ahead and pick them up. And so, if the Saints felt like he was still playing at the highest level and that, he was durable and dependable in that way, that's the kind of guy, a left tackle, you give that guy a blank check. There's no way you let that guy ever leave. You don't even let that guy come into a contract year. So, there's a reason why the Dolphins were able to get him. And sometimes as a team like the Dolphins, when you've got a young quarterback that's trying to emerge as a next tier player, and you now have top receivers like Hill and Waddle and a top running back like Mostert and a top tight end like Gesicki, you've got to try to roll the dice a little bit. And so when you go ahead and get a guy like Teron Armstead in here, it's a high risk, high reward move. And so it's something that I certainly think made great sense for the Dolphins to do. And it's just unfortunate that, you saw him have to exit the game. We'll see what ends up happening there. But he's definitely one of those guys that brings tremendous ability, helps increase the overall confidence and the morale of that line. Certainly a great example for the younger linemen on this team, guys that are trying to find their way in this league. A great example of a professional and what to aspire to in terms of level of greatness. So, for all these reasons, it was great to get him in here, and hopefully it still will continue to be. But yes, obviously there's been those concerns, and so when something like this happens, it obviously opens up the door for people like you guys and other people watching and be like, "Yep, see, that's what we expect from him." So, fair or unfair, that's the way the league works. Hopefully, he'll be back soon.
Brett Tessler, the agent of the Stars, with us. I knew you were a sharp guy, and I was reading some commentary by the great Phil Mushnick a couple of days ago in the New York Post, and he was talking about how all of these positions, except for offensive line and maybe interior defensive line, are referred to as skill positions. And yet, as you stated, without these big lugs up front, these sumo wrestlers, you really have no chance. And we've seen it around the league. And I don't know if it's new or I'm just watching it more, but we're seeing some horrible offensive line play all over the place where your big left tackle is just whiffing on blocks and quarterbacks are getting murdered. It really is, and unfortunately with the Dolphins, that's been a position of concern forever, it seems like, since, Keith Sims and Richmond Webb were there with Tim Ruddy, our buddy. Unbelievable. So, you're very smart to represent offensive linemen.
Yes.
And they probably should be referred to as the skill position players, and everybody else should be just a regular slug, in terms of that consideration.
Well, it's definitely it really this is where things begin and end with most offenses, because when I saw Ryan Tannehill playing down here, I realized that when this guy has the opportunity to do something, he can do it. That's not to say I thought he was the second coming of Rodgers or Brady, but on the other hand, you just saw the guy back there getting absolutely killed, running for his life. I mean, you saw some plays earlier this year. I mean, Raheem Mostert didn't become the NFL's all-time yards per carry leader, which he was coming into this season, by not, knowing how to find an opening and the ability to evade would-be tacklers and to be able to carry the ball upfield. So, no matter how great you are, when you get the ball handed to you and, in the blink of an eye, you've got two guys wrapping you up 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything Jim Brown could do in that situation. So,
not behind the Dolphins offensive line, we would have never heard of him. He would have been just another guy named Brown. J.B. Brown would have been more popular than Jim Brown.
You think, guys, you think about some of the quarterbacks here throughout the years, and there's been many of them. Yeah. You look at the A.J. Seeley thing. You look at the Sage Rosenfeld thing. You look at, so many of these guys. The reality is, they're just back there getting killed. Yeah. And I can honestly say that if you took Josh Allen of today, if you took Tom Brady in his greatest season, if you took Joe Montana, if you took just about anybody and put them in those circumstances, there's simply no way they could succeed. And so it's just a matter of it's a matter of I think it's pretty clear what the team has now and the value in those guys and the importance of providing protection to let the guy who pulls the trigger, the quarterback, the guy who makes this entire offense happen, because as great as it is to have Tyreek, as great as it is to have Waddle, it's worthless if these guys, A, don't have time to get open, and B, if the guy who's supposed to be delivering them the ball is in complete duress, running for his life, or even worse, getting slammed hard to the turf. So I think the coaches, I think the front office, I think everybody knows moving forward, the areas of this team that need to be upgraded, and I'm sure they'll continue working on that. It's never easy during a season because, again, it's not like, David Bakhtiari is just going to, end up in your starting lineup next week. It's not like, some of the guys you consider to be the best linemen. I mean, it's a position where, you really have to use draft capital to get certain positions. If you're talking about tackles, especially a left tackle, for a franchise type guy, that's a guy you got to go ahead and go after, and the top 5 picks to be able to get, one of those Tristan Wirfs types, or just some of the guys that you consider to be the best in the league. So it's going to take a little time, hopefully sooner rather than later. But there's definitely a lot of pieces down here that people should be excited about, and that people are excited about. And this team's going to win games, and they're certainly heading in the right direction. And so be interesting to see in the coming weeks what direction it all goes.
When they put in the next phase of protecting quarterbacks from concussions, how many Mississippis are you in favor of? Yeah. I know who would be in favor of it, and that would be Michael D. Wild, because he doesn't like to see anybody get hurt, especially when it comes to settling the affairs of an estate. And he is the number one leader, Brett Tessler, when it comes to estate planning and wills and trusts.
Yeah, no question about it, Beef. And it's great that so many people down here in South Florida, thousands and thousands, have reached out to him throughout the years. You can find him at southfloridawills.com. Easily the best estate planning attorney down here. And for those who feel like it's something they just don't want to deal with right now, or they don't want to spend the money to get done, just know this. It's a very simple, affordable process, much more so than you may expect. And it's something where once you get it done, it takes such a weight off your back, and it allows you to sleep easy knowing that regardless what the future holds, your family's going to be taken care of. Reach out to Michael Wild, southfloridawills.com.
And it was wild yesterday. I mean, I'm watching kind of casually the game while I'm betting the ponies at a local parimutuel facility, and one eye on the ball game. And I'm looking, I go, man, who's that guy? He's just running so hard. And bodies are flying all over the place, and such speed. And I look, I go, that's 31. Holy, can I say it? Holy shit! Yeah, I mean that's Brett's man. So congratulations on that, and it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for being with us.
Always my pleasure, and look forward to talking to you guys next week. Take care.
Thanks, man.
All right, sounds good. So that was a surfing movie. He told us that before. That
he was like swimming to get out to the. Is that what it is?
Paddling his way. Yeah. That was a good move though. When he scored that touchdown. Now, did he score a couple of touchdowns? One running, one passing.
I know he got the one
or receiving. Yeah.
Great run.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like I only saw coverage of one, but then I don't know. Maybe
one
I'm thinking of somebody else. One touchdown.
Okay. He ran for his first 100-yard rushing game as a Dolphin. So that's.
Oh, that was Leonard Fournette that had like the rushing touchdown and the receiving touchdown also on kind of a weird play. As once again, the officials find a way to bail out Tom Brady.
That wasn't even questionable. That's my problem. Is like,
why does he even need to hire a divorce attorney? He should just use the NFL attorneys. Been on his side the entire time. Are they incompetent in divorce matters? Giselle could probably hire a powerhouse firm. But I started to say, I mean, we were talking about like splitting hairs on a check and stuff. You call your divorce attorney, and like you could call and just say, "Hey, when's the hearing?" And the guy goes, "Tuesday at 3:00." Okay, thanks. And they bill you for a tenth of an hour.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah, like $50.
I never
charging
did.
you $500 an hour, and it was $50 for like a tenth of an hour. And this guy's billing. I'm like, you bill by the tenth of an hour. A taxi cab doesn't even shave you like that when you get in, and they put up the original $5.75 now or whatever it is. That always hurt me too when they would flop on the the original $1.25, and it was like, I'm already at $1.25. What the hell?
Gone anywhere.
How much is this going to cost me? And every eighth of a mile, run that light, you schmuck.
That used to stress me out where you're sitting and it's just going up. I'm like, dude, you haven't moved.
Say, what is this? A fucking slot machine? I mean, let's.
I hate that so
Reels
much.
are spinning in different directions. What's going on here, Jack? All right. Hey, Omar. Yeah, take me to my destination, will you? All right. Was that some kind of racist statement there?
I don't know. I don't know at all. Probably not.
It just always seemed like whoever, whenever I was in a cab. It was
they're usually Indian or Pakistani.
guy
That's
named
not a
Omar, yeah.
racial thing. I mean, just
turban, the whole thing. Yeah,
They were.
didn't matter where you were either, what city you were in. Anywhere in the Northeast. All right. We're coming back with more and a lot to discuss. We haven't touched on the college football, the
Your
baseball playoffs.
face, my
Were
nose.
fantastic. The Hurricane game was kind of interesting again. And Mario Cristobal is, saying all of the right things. But I don't know. I have a thought on that. We'll get to it because I want to tell you first about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And by the way, Lubie,
Have we had
Tommy
discussion?
Fox is working on it now.
Have we had discussions? Please, I'm ready, man. I can believe
Under
me.
discussion,
What's
the
going on in
appearance.
my world? I could use just.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get down there for the weekend. Maybe show up on Sunday, stay till Monday, and do the show there on Monday morning with Jimmy Johnson. Looking forward to that, and it's in the works. Tommy Fox acknowledged that this was something that
Make it
needed
happen.
to be put together sometime soon. So we'll see if we can pull that off sometime before the end of the month, and it'll be great timing because Jimmy's got a book coming out, and he'll probably be around Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill quite a bit because he loves to chill out there, man. He'll bring like a whole contingent. You'll see one night there's Jimmy sitting at the table with like Belichick and Butch Davis and all of the guys that he's friends with that he's going to take out fishing the next day. And he really does know how to party. And that's kind of the atmosphere that you get there at the Big Chill. I mean, it could be anything, whether you're of celebrity stature or, you just got off work on your second job and want to relax down in the Keys for a couple of days. This is the place to go. And also, I mean, just even for a quick stop, because the food there is dynamite, and you can't get in and out quickly. It's not one of those places where you have to send a telegraph to get somebody's attention. Can I get a drink over here? Which is fine. I know it's the Keys. Chill out, Defo. You're not like Penn Station. Grabbing a Needix orange and a hot dog and running to catch the Long Island Railroad. You're supposed to relax a little bit. So what if you're schwitzing? But at the Big Chill, they have it set up perfectly too. You don't even have to, even when it's like 1,000 degrees outside, it's always a comfortable place to be. Got the great swimming pool and all kinds of water sports available to you. Tremendous restaurant with a wide variety of things, the freshest of fish, all the way to their customized pizzas, including, as we always talk about, the Italian Fisherman, which is a must-try lifetime. Whether or not you're a pizza connoisseur, you have to try this thing. When I saw it on the menu, I thought, that ain't me. I'm a simple guy. I mean, give me pepperoni and mushrooms, maybe some onions if I'm not sharing this pizza with anybody that hates onions, like the wife. And that's fine with me. I'm not really a complicated pizza guy. And yet, wow, I tried the Italian fish. But that thing was exceptional, I have to say. I mean, that would be worth, as a culinary item, it would be worth a trip from virtually anywhere just to check that out. And that's one of many things. I mean, whatever you want. You want burgers. I mean, they have the standard stuff. They have the sports bar there. They got all the screens going wild on a college football Saturday, pro football Sunday, and any time during the week, too. If you want to just chill out, have a great time in a tremendous atmosphere with great food and drink, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's mile marker 104 on the Overseas Highway in the beautiful city of Key Largo. All right, we're coming back with a lot more. Well, we'll get into that Hurricanes game a little bit and many other things happening in college football. I do have a thought on that because, this whole patience thing, I'm not sure how applicable it is anymore. I'm not.
I'm an FSU fan. This is year 3. Believe me.
Yeah. Anyway, these 5-year programs don't work. We've seen it. How many 5-year programs have the Marlins?
Oh, no, you're not getting
baseball?
5 years. I'm okay with a guy getting 3. I think you should get 3. The problem is if you want to come in and get paid a lot of money, Jimbo, Mario Cristobal, then that cuts down your time frame. Like Norvell didn't take a lot of money and has a small buyout. So to me, that gave him 3 years. Cristobal came in, leaving Oregon scorned and coming home and the savior and talking about the 80s and the prime Jimmy Johnson.
It was all coming back, man. It was all coming back.
Do that. Know what's coming with it. You can't throw in the, by the way, it's going to take time. No, you just did the whole parade goddamn thing. You did the whole, you're the man. Okay.
I mean, we were, with the Hurricanes, we were among fans that believed they were really going to be good this year.
I told you, I was not. Like, they didn't magically get a whole new
I bought the rhetoric. I really did. I don't know that I assumed that Cristobal was going to come in here and crystallize this movement back to the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, because I don't believe that will ever happen again.
Well,
to this program. I really
they
don't.
win 9-10 games. They'd compete. They'd be in it for the coastal. They, like you thought all those things, which really
And look good doing it. That's the other thing. Look good doing it. I mean, when they're in there against one of the heavyweights, you figure they're in there with a real shot, even on the road. That was a good feeling. But those Hurricane teams were so good. I mean, we didn't realize how spoiled we got. I don't know how they did it and sustained it through a series of different coaches also, who also had different approaches, different styles, different personas, and somehow sustained the level of excellence that was just amazing
they were
over a
able.
20-year period.
Well, it's why all three schools, and there's so much talent in the state of Florida, not just South Florida, the state of Florida, that until the nation ransacked it, all three schools could dominate because the word wasn't out, as Howard and Bobby sort of talked about. The problem is that's not the case. Like everyone recruits South Florida, everyone recruits Florida, so it takes time and work. And I was curious how much time the Canes fans would give Cristobal. They were booing by game 2. So you saw not a lot.
Yeah. There was some rise for hope in this one. And then it was quickly thwarted, yeah. Just so some serious ugliness as, North Carolina was a very vulnerable team coming into this game. They had been in a dogfight in a 60-point range with Appalachian State.
Yep.
Who's been spotty. I mean, they had their big moment there at Texas A&M, but then came right back and lost to some schmank team. So and as as Brett Tessler said, using the idea that water rises to its level, all right, and eventually lowers to whatever level it's going to be at. Also, Hurricanes though, wow, that was perplexing again. I have to say. This kid May that was quarterbacking for North Carolina pretty much wiped the floor with the Hurricane defense, and they were in a position, to possibly win a game. And then my Heisman Trophy candidate at 40-1, Tyler Van Dyke, throws just an ugly pick unnecessarily. Because the weird thing about college football, when you're out of timeouts, it's okay. You got a minute and a hook left in the game, and it actually plays into the hands of the team if they need a field goal to either tie or win a ball game. Because you get the stoppage of the clock, which is kind of weird to move the chains. And so as long as you're moving with those two fat guys that are working the chains there, that somehow, are getting paid $300 a game to stand on the sideline and essentially do nothing. And with all the different things, we don't even have lines people in tennis anymore, Lubie. Why are we still doing football measurements by chains?
That's my favorite.
Chains and the eyeball test of the officials. Would they not be somehow able to electronically monitor exactly where the ball should be spotted, and and whether or not it was a 10-yard span or not? You could put a stick out there and kind of approximate where the 10-yard line is, but you have the yellow line that they put across the field, although it's not really 100% accurate. But how is it that we're still relying on some old geezer that played for Dartmouth in the 40s to officiate a game as an ACC official? Some old codger running back and forth like he was Walter Brennan. And, what was that, Wagon Train that he was on? I don't know. Some old show. Anyway, what was that? Baraxo sponsored that. Did you ever wash your hands with Baraxo?
No, I don't even know what Baraxo is.
Oh, my God. Some kind of soap that was so coarse. You'd be bleeding from every pore by the time you finished washing your hands. God forbid you should rub a little bit of, in the rear end. All right, much to discuss here on the program. So we'll get into the colleges and the baseball stuff. See, I'm fascinated by postseason baseball. I watched a lot of it. I really did. I watched quite a bit of it, more than I would have cared to, and because it was the first round. But the games were very, very compelling for the most part, and the storylines are great. Plus, it's good to familiarize yourself again with a sport that you were in love with many, many years ago. And I'm not one of those people that says it's become unwatchable, but it's kind of becoming unwatchable. Regular season baseball. Maybe that's just our team here because they lose all the time.
Yeah.
Or don't really present a whole lot of excitement. And that's the other thing that we always said about the Dolphins. Not only were they mired in mediocrity, but they were boring in doing that. They had really nothing that raised a buzz in terms of the excitement meter on those teams. Quarterbacks that were always questionable, offensive lines that were as porous as could be. I mean, literally as thin as an O.J. Simpson alibi. Ugliness. And, defenses that were that was it. I mean, forever. So there was rise for hope. I don't know if that's been completely dashed. It certainly has been. Well, with the Hurricanes, they have problems. And my theory is, if you're one of these high-profile coaches that takes like $1 billion from a school to come there,
Yep.
with the ability to attract transfer players, you should be able to get good like almost right away.
The USC.
Look at Lincoln Riley. Exactly. That's what I was thinking about. Is he unique, or shouldn't that be true? If you're Jimbo, or if you're any of these guys that moves around like Larry Brown, carpetbagging your way around to zillions of dollars, nothing wrong with it. That's your profession. You got into it. Somehow you put yourself in a position to make this score. People think a lot of you, and they think you can do the job, and so they invest like, I don't know what they're paying Mario, but it's got to be
$8 million a year. They're paying
$8 million a year.
Yeah, he's one of the top 10 or so paid coaches in college.
Shouldn't you naturally attract some of these people to come to your program that are sitting there now in the transfer portal, which seems to be, I mean, as quick a way to fix anything? It's startling to me because I'm still caught up in the old school view of college football, where a guy transfers and he's finished.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be better off playing in Canada because he's never coming. He's ineligible for the next 7 seasons. Right? You never hear from the guy again. And now you got like a guy starting, that was on the national championship team as their starter just last year for another school. And he's already on the field. So, it's kind of weird. I would think that a guy of this guy's stature, if he was really worth that kind of money and, was capable of turning a program around, would have brought, I don't know who he brought with him besides coaches, but was he able to attract any of these star players like Lincoln Riley was going to USC to turn them into a team that's now ranked, like 5th or 6th in the country?
Top 5, man. They didn't lose.
Yeah.
I think the top 5.
6-0. Yeah.
That was my problem with the crystal ball hire was he got them a top 15-ish class. Right now they have a top 10-ish class.
Yeah.
So that's important. And that's why in 2 to 3 years, I think they will be turned around to a certain extent. But he was getting paid like he was one of these dudes that's going to come right in and get it done. And I was like, okay. Like, we'll see.
I mean, not a whole lot of difference in terms of results than maybe even worse than Manny Diaz was getting.
No, Manny Diaz did better.
Yeah.
I mean, he
So
just did.
that was pretty wild. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. We'll be with you until 9 o'clock. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz on South Florida Live. Lots of college football, Major League Baseball as well. Mets fans have to be – were they expecting it? I think they just have become accustomed to this sort of thing where they have a great season and end up with nada. So very unfortunate there for our loyal Met fans. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:21.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
This comes from the great Defo Lama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, Finns have people crying here in town. All of a sudden, non-believers. The Hurricanes, an outright mess. It seemed like they had more attention being paid by the crowd there. Looked a little better than the Middle Tennessee State crowd. But nonetheless, they walked away disappointed. They rallied in the ball game. Looked like they had a shot. They were going to tie it up. And then, unfortunately, Tyler Van Dyke just sails one, man. I mean, you're talking Christopher Cross time. Sailing. Yada-da-da-da. Looked like Jimmy Garoppolo out there.
Well, with the little things, like at the end of the game, the receiver, and they were going marching down the field. I'm not going to lie. Carolina's defense is horrible, and they were taking advantage of it. And the receiver, the freshman tight end receiver, doesn't get out of bounds. So now the clock's rushing. Now Tyler Van Dyke, who does have a propensity to make mistakes, if he's rushing, forces a ball that he probably wouldn't have if he knew the clock was stopped.
What's May's first name? It escapes me right now. Drake May.
I mean, he's a good quarterback.
That guy, I mean, he's got to be getting all kinds of, females there at North Carolina. Good-looking kid. Quarterback of the team, seemed very cool. Said all the right things, a model of decorum there after the ball game. Said all the right things, and I'm thinking, great hair. I mean, this guy, I mean, has got to be killing it in the sorority houses.
You think about different
at North Carolina. Think about those dainty Southern belles. That's the way to go, man. I mean, never mind the points that he might have scored in that ball game by winning for North Carolina. And Mac Brown, man, I mean, how long has that guy been coaching? 100 years? He was out of coaching for 20 years.
Yeah, he was out and he's been back.
And now he's back for like another 15. I mean, how old is this guy, Mac Brown?
I think it's 70s. I feel like he's
unbelievable. All right, a lot of other good stuff in college football, including what happened to Oklahoma.
Bulls is another one, and then they got plastered.
49-0.
Texas is okay.
That's a stinker of major proportions there. Who let one go?
Exactly.
My God. and we're in an elevator. Have you no consideration?
That's exactly what
for the human condition. Yeah.
Literally, and this rivalry's gone on for how long? That's the worst.
Wow.
Score in this rivalry.
49-0. All right. Florida beats Missouri 24-17. Missouri was considered a doormat until they had Georgia by the jugular just a week ago. And I thought maybe that was their big shot. They rose to a level that seemed incomparable for their level of talent, and they went back to the pack there to lose to Florida. But the Gators are 4-2, and I can't say what's happening with that quarterback. Is he still sparking interest as being, one of the sensational players on the college football scene, or has he kind of come back to the pack?
The professor likes him a lot because look, raw ability is interesting. Like the kid's big, strong. He has a cannon. He can run. I have questions because he makes stupid ass decisions and he likes to take chances. And he's inaccurate and inconsistent. So I don't know what to do, Richardson. I mean, he's younger. So, maybe the Van Dyke and Richardson thing was a year ahead of schedule. Like both those guys have a lot of ability, but they also make a lot of dumbass mistakes that I figured this would be the year they work it out. And then next year they may be interesting quarterbacks. Like all that stuff this offseason didn't make any sense to me about those two guys.
All right, a little flip-flop in there in the top three. Anyway, Georgia goes back to number one after shellacking Auburn. Ohio State is now the number 2 team in the country. Alabama falls all the way to number 3. Nick has to be screaming today. Although he didn't want his players eating that rat poison by being ranked number 1. He's so lucky, this guy. Is it that he's lucky or good? Both.
I guess it's good.
I think he has better luck than he has ability to coach. Obviously, he knows how to run a program. There's no question. Yeah, you can't deny that, even if you despise Nick Saban. I mean, he's got the number 1 program year after year after year after year. That they're right there. I don't know that Mike Shula would have taken him to this level, although the original concept was that Nick inherited a very healthy nest when he got to Alabama. That Shula was on the cusp of maybe making something happen. But Mike Shula is not Nick Saban.
No.
Okay?
No.
He's not. I mean, I guess he's working somewhere as an offensive coordinator. I think he might be working in the pros, Mike Shula. I'm not sure if he still has a job.
I don't know if he still is there.
But nonetheless, Nick Saban for Alabama was whatever program he was running was probably, if it had the resources to be in Alabama, where, you maybe have a handful of schools that could have accomplished that. But Nick Saban would be winning at Clemson. He'd be winning at Georgia. He's winning at Alabama. Could he win at the University of Miami? That's a good question. I guess you have to plug that into the equation, as people are ready to bury Mario Cristobal already. Maybe nobody can make this work. They could throw all of the money in the world at it, and it's just not going to happen. Your Florida State Seminoles, unfortunately, lose to NC State. They were up in that ball game,
17-3 at half. Didn't score 1 point in the second half.
Got nailed at the wire there, and NC State prevails 19-17. Interestingly, and I covered a lot of UCLA and USC football when I was a sports writer in Los Angeles for a while, and it was of big interest naturally because USC was a powerhouse, and UCLA had its moments as kind of the city's. It's funny too because in basketball, UCLA was as big as the Lakers at that time, if not bigger, and USC was never much, in terms of being a basketball school, even though they had good players. In football, UCLA was good. I mean, they had many very good teams back then. They had high-profile coaches, including Dick Vermeil, and yet they were the redheaded stepchild of college football in Los Angeles. Then neither team was amounting to a whole hell of a lot, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did Carl Durrell do anything at UCLA when he was there? No, he ended up at Colorado and ended up getting fired 2 games into the season. So, and USC, you always thought was going to be good, and they were making the effort, and they were always involved in controversial things with Pat Hayden as the athletic director and various coaches and Sarkisian and all of this stuff that went on there. But none of it was good. And it turned out they were never quite able to get to the next level. And I don't know that they're there yet because, they've had a couple of scares. But nonetheless, 6-0 for UCLA and 6-0 for USC. Unbelievable.
What did UCLA ranked? Did UCLA ranked high?
At 6-0, I would imagine they have to have popped in there somewhere, right? Because they beat Utah. They just beat Utah.
Oh, my God. They're 11. Oh, Jesus.
So that was uncommon. And yet, it's going to be in the spotlight in Los Angeles. It won't be the perils of the Rams, who again looked like garbage yesterday, huh? Is Matthew Stafford, is that going to be his legacy, that he was one and done? And it's interesting to me because I was thinking about how preposterous it was that the Miami Dolphins, in terms of a franchise direction, wanted to have a 45-year-old Tom Brady as their quarterback this year. Imagine it. And they would have had Sean Payton. It would have been an entirely different feel to the organization. But, can you imagine Tom Brady trying to survive behind a Dolphins offensive line? Every guy, we're down to our third guy. Every other guy has had his skull cracked open so far. So, although, you know what? The first Tua injury where he looked to have incurred a concussion, and if you were going to have concerns, that was legitimate. When a guy gets up and stumbles like Trevor Burbick did, remember when Mike Tyson knocked him out and he got up and then he went down again? Without another punch being thrown. The ref's still counting 4 or 5. You're all right, and he goes down a second time, and that's what Tua looked like. So you're thinking anybody concussed, it might be this guy. But it's crazy to think that here's a team that's down to a third string quarterback, and people still are screaming, saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they lost to the Jets." That was another example of what we always talk about. You can never, make a decision like in week number 1 or before the season starts about week 5. You have no idea what the scenario is going to look like.
Yep.
And this was as favorable for the Jets as any. All right. This was good, too, on the pros. My friend Francesco swapped the board. He bet 4 college games against me, gave me 4 of them, and I lost them all. Very close, right? I had Miami laying 3 and a hook. I had NC State laying 3 and a hook. Miami lost outright. NC State won by 2.
Yeah, if it's just still covered, yeah.
LSU got blown out. They were getting 2.5, and BYU lost to Notre Dame by like 8.
Those are all games I would have agreed with you.
Well, I didn't pick the side. I was given these picks. I liked North Carolina to beat Miami. I would have taken North Carolina in that game. NC State, I would have taken over Florida State. I would have laid the 3 and a hook. LSU, I'm not a believer in, so I probably wouldn't have bet that game at all. And BYU against Notre Dame, I don't have that much respect for Notre Dame, but somehow Notre Dame is now, 3-2? And they did handle BYU in that game. All right, so here's how it lined up in the pros yesterday. All right, So I lose all 4 games. That's 4 units out the window there. I was up like 8 for the season. So now up 4 units. Here are the pros. I have Houston +7. They went outright. I have Atlanta +10. They're getting clobbered early in the game by Tampa Bay. Looks like it's going to be a runaway. They come back and they lose by 6.
Nice.
So 2-0. I have Chicago +7, and they ended up. No, they ended up getting within 7. So that game turned out to be a push.
I'm saying they were down by 3 scores, and
Yeah.
then they look back and they were down by 2 points. I'm like, what the hell happened?
This is the Michigan thing about betting. Now I had nothing to do with this. I would have never picked the Bears. The Bears suck, in my opinion. They can't score at a Heidi Fleiss pool party. It's disgusting. Jets +3.5. I like the Jets in that game against the Miami Dolphins because I just thought this was another one of those things that Brandon Lang talks about, which, by the way, on our podcast, Brandon Lang absolutely loved the Buffalo Bills in their game, and they won 38-3 playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had all kinds of good rationale for it.
Yeah.
Laying 14, biggest number on the board, said lay this all day long. So that was a good tip. But that game wasn't involved. Okay, so I have the Jets +3.5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 0, and 1. All right, so we'll discount the push and just say it's 3-0. San Francisco laying 6. They won by like 20 or something. Yeah, very healthy margin.
Good job by you.
By Arizona +5, and Arizona covers the point spread, losing by 3. And that was this is the great thing. You watch the game from an entirely different dynamic if you have money on the game than you do if you're a fan. Now, ultimately, I guess you would like the team that you would favor in your heart to win the ball game, and then fail to cover the point spread if you have the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it matters because at the end of the game, you're doing, math permutations that are like, okay, what we need here, we need them. And I was having trouble following this game because at that time I was home and I'm just looking on my phone and it showed that Philadelphia was knocking on the door. They had a 1st and goal at the 9-yard line with like a minute and change to go in the game.
Oh, Jesus.
In a tie ball game, 17-17.
No.
So now, if they have to kick the field goal to win the game, I win.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they go in for the touchdown, whoosh, I lose.
Exactly.
And now you have to sweat out these plays. It's incredible. And I mean, I leaped in the air when I saw it was 4th and 5.
And they're kicking the field goal.
With like 20 seconds to go. And of course, they're going to punt one through there, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So anyway, that turned out to be a win there with Arizona getting 5 points. All right, where was I on this thing?
That's 4-0.
Okay, Dallas +5.5. They rout the Los Angeles Rams. So that's Houston, Atlanta, Jets, San Francisco 4-0, Arizona 5-0, Dallas 6-0, and I have Cincinnati +3 last night. So they ended up losing by 2, right?
Oh, gee. Well, really? That's amazing.
They ended up, the 3 points, they ended up, I think, losing by 2.
What? Wow. Oh, my God. That's crazy.
I wish I wasn't just booking these games with my friend. That would have been 7-0.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have taken any of these. Like, you got the wrong side of every game. It just worked out.
No, a couple of them I would have gone with. I like the Jets. I liked Arizona. I like Dallas. I didn't really have an opinion on the Cincinnati Ravens game. I mean, 3 points looked prohibitive there, and I might have been inclined to take the 3, thinking that maybe Cincinnati gets it together. Joe Burrow had about 15 passes blocked at the line of scrimmage yesterday also.
Yeah.
So if you were a betting man, that was extremely frustrating. So, I mean, but a totally different dynamic. If you have even $5 on the game, totally different watching a game than it is if you have nothing on it and you're just sitting there half passed out going, should I go back upstairs and get some potato chips? Is that sour cream still good? I have to check the expiration date. Let me ask you this, Lubie. This is a food question. I probably should run it by Mike Mayo when we do the lunchbox later on. Should cream cheese taste sour ever? No, right? Shouldn't it have like a sort of a basic sweetness to it?
I don't know if it's sweet. That's interesting. I'm trying to think of what flavor I would call it.
I mean, it's the store brand, so it's not Philadelphia cream cheese. It's like a Publix brand.
I mean, I buy Publix.
Tastes a little sour. I mean, is it advisable to continue eating this, hoping that it starts tasting better?
Is it brand new or it's old?
Oh, it was relatively new. No, it had only been in the fridge like bought within the week, and about halfway through this thing, still trying to figure out if what I'm eating is any good. Like Louis Pasteur wouldn't touch this shit.
I don't think you should have to do a math problem to figure out if it's good or not.
Well, it has like a sour taste to it, a little bit of a sour taste. I've never, and I'm too cheap to throw the whole tub out because cream cheese was one of those things that unfortunately got impacted very heavily by inflation. So
I get the store stuff. I it's not sweet, but I would never go, this cream cheese is sour. Like I don't
has
think
a bitter taste to it, a little bit of a bitter taste. But I don't want to throw it away, even though I know, like, it's not very satisfying. It's like disturbing.
You're like, it's got to get good.
That's a good true-false question for Dave Gurgles Gurgley. Huh? Raheem Mostert, is it true that he nearly took a surfing scholarship to, like, San Francisco State? You would have to think, no way, right? I mean, what connection is there to surfing? Not a lot of championship black surfers. Have you seen a lot of black surfers?
Getting out of African American surf. No, that's. I mean, I guess if you're from Daytona or Hawaii or Long Beach, or Maui, maybe it's just ingrained.
I don't know that you've seen. I mean, it's not a sport that you really see.
See, Mayo. That's where he shows the conservative side of himself because I only throw it out if it smells or it has a weird color.
It doesn't smell. It's new. I mean, yeah, but
it's for me. It's just smell or color. If it's
I'm curious to have some cream cheese expert taste it.
Is that a thing?
I'll bring it to the next remote. I like when Mayo makes a face. I really do. He was on fire, by the way, on Friday after we went to the Bake Shack. I don't know if the Bake Shack was just a good luck charm, but both of us made, I think, fairly nice scores as we ventured over to the nearby Highlight Fronton, former Highlight Fronton, now the Casino at Dania, which
nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. Mayo slaughtered him in the poker room, man. He took down this bunch of blue hairs for like thousands. It was fairly amazing. What's that shining from your earlobe there, Lubie, that you're covering up with the headphones? Are you also putting a little grease on the baseball there that the Mets couldn't hit last night?
No, I haven't done anything. I'm just balding. It's sad.
It always sucks, too, when you lay an egg at your big moment in sports. I mean, just have an awful game. You get one hit in the entire ball game. I mean, is Musgrave... is he that phenomenal? Musgrove, is he that phenomenal? He was good down the stretch, I guess.
Great game yesterday.
What are the chances San Diego upsets the Dodgers in a best of 5?
I think low, but it's going to be a fun series. It sucks that Tatis isn't a part of it because he hates the Dodgers and the Dodgers hate him.
Cleveland and the Yankees, you would have to give a big edge there to the New York Yankees.
Oh man, I can't name you one guardian.
Well, and beyond that, I mean, if you look at that series, they won the first ball game 2-1, and the second one took 15 innings to score a run.
8 days.
And the Yankees have Aaron Judge, and you would think are going to put some runs up. But I mean, you can't win if you can't score. How that resulted in a 2-game sweep? Think about that. They scored 3 runs in 24 innings, or 20. Yeah, 23 innings, I guess, since they were winning the ball game. They didn't bat in the 9th in the 1 game. So, right. 23 innings, 3 runs, and they're going to go against the Yankees now. You got to be kidding me. So that one, I mean, looks heavily, towards the favorite, does it not? Yankees over the Cleveland Indians. Seattle has to play Houston. Seattle and Houston, they played 19 times during the regular season, as was the custom. I thought they changed that schedule. I thought I saw that Seattle was 7-12 against Houston during the regular season, which, is what? They're winning at like about a 35% clip, something like that. Do they have any chance in this thing? I mean, that was a remarkable comeback, one of the greatest comebacks we've ever seen, perhaps the greatest in playoff history. No, they're down, I think they were down 8-1 in the 6th inning. They rally and get it to 8-5, and then they're down 9-5, and they rally and end up in a 9-9 tie, and they win the game. They went ahead 10-9 and staved off the possible rally of the Toronto Blue Jays and swept 2 games in Toronto. Not too bad. And Philadelphia, that was a surprise, was it not, Mike Lubitz? Philadelphia?
Yeah, what the hell?
St. Louis, right?
Yeah, what is that? That came out of nowhere.
Yadier Molina out now after 20 years catching. Pujols finished. This was it for him.
Oh, good.
Adam Wainwright, who was how long's he been in the league? I think he broke in with Whitey Ford.
I honestly think he was still pitching. Like, I really didn't.
Yeah, but all of those guys, that was their last game. How deflating was that too? They lose it 2-0 to the Philadelphia Phillies after losing on the Friday night game. And so Philadelphia moves on, and they have to take on the Atlanta Braves now. Which could the Braves easily be favored to win the World Series again? Would you take a shot with the Braves? I think you might be able to get a decent price on that.
I'd lean Dodgers just because they were ridiculous, but I feel like the Braves have the pitching edge a little bit. And we know what matters in the playoffs.
Guys that come through a lot, too. I mean, not that the Dodgers don't. I mean, Dodgers had a phenomenal season.
I mean, the Dodgers have Freeman now.
When Kershaw has that looping curveball going, he can be pretty tough. And obviously, they have other guys in the rotation that in a 3 out of 5 series would give them a heck of an advantage. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz. That's our baseball analysis. And the Dodgers are good.
You did it.
You won't hear this on other shows. Man, they were whining on this Dolphin postgame show that I was listening to.
Were they bitching about injuries? Like, I don't get. Like,
no.
Were they whining just to play?
O.J. McDuffie was great. Our good friend O.J. McDuffie. He was very forceful, saying that, I mean, you got to take accountability for everything that you do. Next man up and all of that stuff. And as they said in The Godfather, bada bing, bada boom. I mean, the standard concerns. Aaron Rodgers was talking about this. He was unhappy that, people in the locker room were using like a loser mentality.
Oh, no. I mean, the players can't say that. But, I mean, as a fan, I'm sorry. You're on your third quarterback. You're missing, I think they're missing 3 offensive linemen. You're missing your 2 starting corners. I mean, and the Jets are better, and it's on the road. Like, I still thought they should have won.
And whatever could go wrong went wrong in that game.
But that's my thing. Like, literally, you got a safety call that wasn't a safety. Your quarterback was barely touched. Would have come back probably the next play, but he had to go to the goddamn locker room and then be marked out. Like, Thompson, everyone loves Thompson, and he was fine. He wasn't horrible, but I feel like Bridgewater would have been a little bit better. Like, Bridgewater would have made those mistakes that Thompson made.
They eventually caught up with Thompson. He started out fine.
He had a dumbass interception, and he had a dumbass the fumble shouldn't have happened. Like, so to me, these are things that their defense couldn't get off the field in the second half. Like, that's not having your 2 best corners. Yes, they should win. The players should make excuses, but as a fan, it was pretty evident what happened in that game.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams find themselves talking to themselves after these games, which most of which seem to come down to the wire one way or the other. So I don't know how you can kill yourself, over a loss.
We say Indians? I thought we said Guardians. Didn't we say Guardians? Did you say Indians? I said Guardians.
I don't know if I said Indians. Yeah,
I don't know. He's taking over for Sarni and he's correcting us. I said Guardians. I don't remember either of us saying Indians, but maybe.
I don't remember using the word Indian at any time.
I don't know. They've been the Guardians. I've seen that stupid ass. I think it's a ridiculous name and stupid, but that's what
it doesn't really, associate. Was that the name of a newspaper there, the Cleveland Guardian?
I don't know what it is.
What is the point of it?
I don't know what it means. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
What are they Guardians?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have come up with something simple, name it after an animal. What?
I don't know, but I call them that because that's what it's. I saw
Eagles would make more sense, though. I mean, any bird
because of that stupid game. I'm like, what? I'm like, how is this game still on? I'm like, and it's 0-0. It was 0-0 the whole time.
15 innings of 0-0 baseball.
I'm like, what is that?
At least it ended in dramatic fashion. That was great. All right. Speaking of Mike Mayo coming up 12 o'clock today on Lunchbox.
Yes, sir.
He says you should toss it. Don't even question it. And if it doesn't taste
said
right.
It was bad early, though. You said it was bad early. That's my problem. So
the minute I open the thing, it tastes the same.
Throw it out right away? I mean, I guess.
Is that just cheap store brand cream cheese, though? That's the question.
I don't know. I buy store brand because to me, Philadelphia and the store brand, when it looks the same, it's the same.
Pretty much the same, yeah.
Yeah,
something wrong with this particular batch. Now, would you take the half-eaten tub back to the store and say, I got robbed here, give me half my money back?
That's the thing. Like, if it's $3 or $4 and it's bad, do you go back?
It's like $6, yeah, this stuff. No, it got very expensive. I don't know why. There was a cream cheese shortage, remember?
There was, I know. You were very
Jews everywhere were in a panic. Delis were going out of business. They were just putting for sale signs in the front window. What do you mean you don't have any cream cheese? It's how much?
Oh, my God.
All right. Well, I'm Mike Winnis, the Gambling Gourmet. He had a nice weekend, I think. I don't know if he sustained it because he went out there to crush our buddy Joey Esposito from Cafe Seville. It's a very fickle business, this horse racing. And they were all excited, because they had a horse that they had purchased, and they named it after Tony Saragusa in honor of the goose, Saragusa. And Saragusa got pounded. I was thinking that was Mayo sending it in with his winnings that he took off the Blue Hairs at Dania. And like a couple of minutes to post it, this horse is 5-2, then 7-2. Went off going off at a little bit of a price. I don't know, 5-6-1, something like that. But dead last. I mean, all of your hopes. Whoosh. I don't know if that destroys everything because, see, it's always good to, and horse racing is a sport that is largely built foundationally on excuses. And so the rationale was that didn't like running on a wet surface.
Yeah, it rained.
Yeah. Which could be true. I don't know. Do you come back and pound that horse the next time? Remember when I had those horses through that syndicate organization? I had a little piece. Yeah. I traded it out for advertising.
Yep.
And I was so thrilled the first time this horse was going to run. I couldn't believe it. And, I sent in money. I told all my friends about it. And then up the track in a cheapo maiden race at Laurel. So we wish Joey all the best, though. He's a great guy. But it's a tough business, this horse racing business. Unless, Lubie, your name is Todd Pletcher. This guy is winning everything. Everything. It doesn't matter. There's a race in New York, big stakes race, boom, Pletcher. He's not even there. Send some schmenky assistant out there to saddle a horse called Nest, who is going to be a big factor. The Breeders' Cup in about a month. Maybe less than a month. And then he's at Keeneland, boom, winning every race, man. Every race. It's incredible. Must be nice, man. With the purse money that's out there today, can you imagine, Libby? What is this guy making a year? Todd Pletcher, man. It's got to be a fortune.
Yeah, he's killing it.
And he's not messing around with a bunch of barn rats. I mean, he's got some high quality stock there in the Pletcher barn. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Good to meet Todd Pletcher. It's 8:49. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, so what do you do with this if you're a trend handicapper, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here, South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and happy to be with you. Peel yourself off the Mount Monday. By the way, if you're used to seeing John Kajemi and hearing John Kajemi in this spot, which I saw John on TV yesterday, he had a conflict, and so he's going to be with us tomorrow from 8 to 9. So we'll be able to get his thoughts. Obviously, he was deeply involved in viewing and analyzing that Dolphin game, and follows college football very closely. His Pittsburgh team won, and so he should be happy about that. They've been having kind of a weird season, huh? Giving up a lot of points. I don't know if people are following them all that closely. Did the Cuse win? Are they 6-0? Or did they not play over the weekend?
See them. I don't remember them having it.
Might have been a bye week, but they were 5-0. And, it was interesting. I mean, so close. You don't know how involved I get emotionally when Alabama's on the ropes like that. And I'm thinking, run the ball in there. I mean, wouldn't they have been? Everybody thinks they're going to pass. I don't know why. You're from the 1 yard line. You're lined up in a shotgun. Oh, God. Or whatever that was. And they had benefited greatly. I mean, I think there was a pass interference call. Was that the game where there was a pass interference call that put the ball like on the 1 when otherwise it looked like A&M was out of downs or something?
I have no idea.
I might be making that up, but
I think the game was the same time as FSU. I didn't watch 1 minute of it. I remember score tracking it just to see that A&M was in it, so that was cool. And then I
couldn't believe it. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I turned it on and I got so excited that Nick was going down. It was the same thing the week before when Missouri. No, that was Georgia and Missouri. I was rooting for Georgia to go down in that game. Mm-hmm. And the Texas game. It looked like Nick had been. He was had.
They should have been.
He was yesterday's news, and unfortunately, they remain undefeated. I do have to tip a hat to UConn, Jim Mora Jr., now 3-4 in the season. They looked horrendous. But I was going to say, I mean, if you're going to follow a trend here, so I'm 7-0-1 with a push in 8 games that I booked with my friend Francesco. And he has rendered an opinion on tonight's game. Okay. And I have Kansas City laying 7 in their game against the Raiders. They're at home, the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe they're at home, laying 7 against the Raiders. What do you think? The Raiders have to be... I mean, can we consider this desperation mode?
Yeah, they're desperate.
Is that a good place to be or a negative place to be, Mike Lubie Lubitz? If you're playing desperate, are you playing in a compromised fashion than you otherwise would be if you were just like the Fonz walking in there, man, just loosey-goosey, man. Like I know I'm going to win.
You'd rather not be desperate, but the way the Chiefs have played, I would have automatically assumed they're going to cover that. The fact that the Raiders have to win, it may actually be a detriment to the Chiefs. I mean,
Chiefs are always suspect. I don't know what their record is overall against the spread. I would imagine it still is favorable, but they do get overbet, no? Because everybody assumes that Mahomes is going to be working magic, especially in the spotlight of a Monday Night Football game, which is that in the spotlight anymore? And what's going on? We'll have to ask Jim Sarney. This is a question for him. And by the way, it was Andy referencing Jim Sarney that talked about Cleveland being the Indians.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to figure out, where did that come from?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
So this was strictly going on our chat line here.
Okay.
Although I would believe them to be dead meat against the New York Yankees. So you may as well unload on the Cleveland Indians. Cleveland Guardians. Yeah, see, you put it in your head. There it is, man. It's like talking about the Chargers as being from San Diego. By the way, too, we never paid homage. Hector Lopez checked out last week.
Oh, geez.
One of my all-time favorite references, all number 11 there, Hector Lopez. Used to hit about 275 for the Yankees. I think he had a lifetime 270 average. Very useful, Lubie. Utility man. The late, great Hector Lopez. But if you were a betting man and you were looking at tonight's game and you knew that a guy that was 0-7 for the weekend of NFL football, 0-7, and I believe he also lost the Thursday night game. So that would make him 0-8 on the NFL card. Would he possibly go 0-9 and lose where he took the Raiders tonight, getting 7 points? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean,
what's more likely to happen? That this guy, is absolutely on the schneid. Blutarski City 0.0 in terms of winners in 10 games. He's going to go 0-9-1 if the Chiefs cover 7 points tonight. I'm laughing only because, I wish this was $1,000 a game now, and I can see why bookmakers are ordering yachts at the boat show while you're in there maybe looking at a used wave runner. Okay? because they are making money hand over fist.
100%.
FanDuel and DraftKings, they have their hands in everything. I think I was watching a dart tournament, and it was brought to you by FanDuel. The Westminster Kennel Club has sold out. Never mind Purina, man. They think that food is bogus. Now they're sponsored by DraftKings. Who do you think is going to win in the Schnauzer division? I don't know. What do I know about judging dogs?
Taking bets on dogs.
I have 2 dogs. I'm happy they're healthy and okay. They seem like very nice dogs overall.
It's classic.
Yeah. All right. A lot of fun being with you all morning long. So who do you like in the game tonight?
The
Vegas
Chiefs.
under the desperation mode. Kansas City Chiefs. Does Mahomes shine on the Monday night spotlight?
What's the over-under? Julian may have it best. What is the over-under? I feel like they're going to score a lot in that
I think
game.
there's going to be a lot of points in this one. Let's see. Let me take a quick scan here.
52.
You might.
Yeah,
What's that?
Yeah, 52. I'd go over
52 is a big over-under total in that game. So if it turns out 30-26, you're well over on that. That's very possible, that kind of score. So it'll be 0-0 at halftime, another clunker on Monday Night Football, where you're asking Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to be entertaining in addition to, sitting there counting their money. As ESPN, again, attempts to correct a wrong. It's very much like the Hurricane football situation. It will never be the same, the Monday Night Football booth. You're never going to have it. Where you have the chemistry that was there when Dandy Dunn and Howard Cosell were part of the broadcast team, whether they were working with Frank Gifford or remember the original year, I believe, was called by Keith Jackson. Whoa, Nelly!
Jeez.
One guy is screaming, "Whoa, Nelly!" and the other guy is singing, "When the party's over, turn out the lights." And Cosell is saying, "That was the most incredible thing I have ever seen." And they're all talking at once. It was great. Nothing has ever come close to making, even the slightest bit of parallel to that great era that they had. And so now they're falling all over themselves to hire announcers. And once again, completely nondescript. Is it not true, Lubie? It doesn't. I don't know that I've heard a guy yet that really caught my attention. And you said, "Wow, I mean, that guy's great." All very professional. Obviously, we have natural favoritism towards our good friend Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. They do a great job.
Yeah.
But is there anybody out there that's like the David Faraday of color announcers in football?
Oh, football?
Romo, I guess, would be that guy.
Olsen's okay. I actually don't mind Greg Olsen. I like that he seems to have some personality. Like there's emotion in what he says. He doesn't just say the same old cliches.
I'm only tuning in tonight. I don't care about seeing Mahomes. I'm only tuning in to hear Joe Buck. There's a gain of 3. Well, that's up to 2nd and 7 here.
I'll be watching the Manning is what I'll be watching. Because
are they on again tonight?
I know they do 10 weeks.
How self-defeating is that, though? I mean, if you're going to pay all this money to have a guy announce a game,
well,
two guys announce a game, well, why would you put something better on against it?
ESPN is admitting we know you want something else. Like that's my problem with it is
why wouldn't they just have the Mannings do the game? Period.
I guess there are certain people that like watching the game with announce. I don't know.
Do we really need that? Do we need to know that this guy's got to start running downhill? Do we need to know that?
I don't.
Were you sitting there on the couch stuffing your face saying, you know what this guy needs to do? He needs to start running downhill.
Well, my problem is, it's what happened. Oh, thank God he told me because I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Like your starter. Whoa, you know what? He's right. They got to start running downhill.
I ever need their help with is the thing you always make fun of it. Is when a call's fucking like that Teddy Bridgewater call.
Yeah.
We're watching it with Shirley, so I had to have the volume down. I really wanted it. The problem is when I listened to what they said, it was stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're like,
well,
yeah,
I don't know. You have to err on the side of caution here.
I'm like, what? I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
He was getting hit when he threw it. Like, by any rule, that was clearly non-intentional grounding. And all they said was agreeing with the ref's stupid ass call. So I'm like, okay, so there's no point to you guys then. Like, if you're not even going to explain that was a bad call because of this, okay. Like, I know more than you at this point right now. Like, you're wrong. You're just taking the money and being the NFL's fluff piece, which is a joke.
Well, and it's funny too, and certain things have stuck with me that people have said to me over the years. Very simple things that you're trying to apply all the time. And it was actually Joe Zagacki, the voice of the University of Miami football, the basketball and baseball programs. I guess the voice of UM would suffice there, because he may even do volleyball and tennis. I don't know. He does it all. But I remember, he said to me a long, long time ago, You're paid to have an opinion, so have one. If you're doing this kind of stuff, I mean, if you're going to be doing sports analysis, have an opinion.
Yeah.
And if you're the color analyst on a major football telecast, I mean, have an opinion. Tell me what the hell, right? Do you think this coach just made one of the moron moves of all time? It's possible, and that's always looming in the balance. It was kind of the dynamic in that Baltimore game yesterday, where the Ravens had opted for a field goal after Harbaugh was subjected to so much criticism for going for the touchdown, which cost him the victory the previous week. So now he opts to go for a field goal in that spot, and everybody's saying Cincinnati came back, took the lead, and they're all like, "Oh my God, can you believe it? He settled for that field goal," and then boom, it turned out to be very much a part of the math of the ball game because he ended up winning the game by only needing a field goal at the end, where he otherwise. Had he whiffed on the attempt to get a touchdown, that would have lost the ball game.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was a coaching decision that was conservative that worked out well. That Tucker, by the way, wow! I mean, how would you like to have him?
That was great. It's a 43-yarder. They take the timeout. I'm so used to my kicker sucking. Like Sanders missed a 50-something yarder. Yeah. My Fitzgerald sucks. So I'm getting nervous, and then he kicks it like straight through.
Oh yeah.
Top of that thing. I'm like,
with style points. Style points, man. The ball is spinning perfect like a John Sunvold 3 out of the corner. Perfect rotation.
I was like, how great is it to have a kicker?
And the guy's singing opera while the ball's in the air. Oh, solo volante.
Well, it was like a Steph Curry 3 where Steph shoots it from half court, turned around, runs back to the bench before it's even in the hoop. I'm like, he kicked it and he's already hugging them. I'm like, dude, it didn't even. Okay, never mind.
they don't even bother, man. I mean, like the other team should just concede, like conceding a putt in a $5 Nassau. Just say, hey, Tucker, okay, inside of 60, we're gone. See you later, man. Congratulations. Nice win there. No, he's great. And sings opera like he's Pavarotti. If you ever saw the piece on 60 Minutes, the guy legitimately is a world, I don't know if he's world class, but it struck me that way. I don't know. I'm no great judge. I did sneak into the opera when we were in Rome, the Mustang and I, and found myself in cutoff shorts and a greasy-looking T-shirt up there, and the guy's like, singing to me about his troubles with the family. Those guys have a lot of problems, man. Those opera singers, right? It's always something evil, devilish going on. It's crazy. All right, and involving a woman, of course, as well.
Obviously.
All right, a lot of fun being with you today. We'll do it again tomorrow. John Kajemi will be with us tomorrow, so that'll be great. Brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. All right, thanks to Hialeah Park and all of our fine sponsors here on the program. I'm Jeff DeForest for Mike Lubie Lubitz. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox comes away at 12 o'clock today. I'm not sure what Mayo's going to be up to. I think he's going to be in a good mood, though.
And he has been on your cream cheese debate. He's ready to unload.
It tastes a little bitter, man. I mean, I'm not feeling anything from eating it. I mean, in terms of not getting nauseous or feeling any kind of internal complications. But why am I still eating it, Lubie?
That's the question.
I'm throwing it out.
I would throw it away.
I'm going to throw it at the camera when Mayo condemns it. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock. We'll have some fun. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, and then see you guys again tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.